Here begins a tale soaked in longing and lifted by dust, a tale where the sky forgets how to weep, and the earth must teach it to remember. The winds of Agata, when rivers speak in Tungos. Part 24, The Rain That Would Not Fall. Chapter 1, The Sky's Silence and the Parched Valley of Obalumo. The air carried the taste of thirst. 7 harvests had passed with barely a drizzle. The rivers retreated like frightened snakes, the wells coughed dust, and the trees stood still as statues, leaves curled like sleeping tongues. The villagers prayed to the rain gods. They offered goats. They danced in cracked clay circles. But the clouds hung above like deaf elders, unmoved. Then a strange old woman arrived, wrapped in a blue shawl that shimmered like storm water, dragging behind her a gourd sealed with 7 locks. Her name was Erinla, and she spoke only to Kaya. "Greater than you, seek the voice of the wind," she said. "But first, you must beg the sky to remember how to cry." Chapter 2, The Curse of the Sky. Erinla explained that long ago, the sky wept too freely. Its rains flooded mountains, drowned secrets, and eroded even truth. So the gods bound the rain spirit into a gourd and gave it 7 sorrows as locks. But the people forgot the ritual of unlocking. Now the rain waited, bound and silent. Kaya, Dunmaji, Yukam, and Kamchika each had to unlock a sorrow with an act of memory, pain, and grace. 1 for betrayal. 1 for hunger. 1 for loneliness. 1 for sacrifice. The gourd trembled with each key turned. But 3 sorrows remained hidden. And the last could only be opened by the earth itself. Chapter 3, The Earth-Sweeping Tea journeyed into the mouth of the deep crater, where earth once swallowed a city. There, Kaya placed her palm into the soil and spoke the names of the dead buried by drought. The earth groaned. A crack split the crater. From it rose a spirit of soil and ash, calling itself Oriko, the buried child. Oriko wept not water, but ashes made of forgotten tears. "Greater than you, ask for rain," he said. "But will your people welcome what drowns their comfort?" They swore they would. Then Kamchika cut her finger and let her blood seep into the ash. It hissed. The final lock on the gourd snapped open. And the sky began to rumble, not with anger, but with memory. Chapter 4, The First Drop. The villagers of Obalumo gathered, eyes to the sky. For the first time in 7 years, clouds gathered with intention. Lightning flashed not as threat but as greeting. And then, a single drop. Heavy. Pure. It struck Kaya's cheek like a blessing. Then another. And another. Until the sky opened like a grieving mother finally allowed to wail. The people danced. The ground drank deeply. Crops tilted toward the heavens, mouths open. Erinla uncorked the empty gourd and let the wind carry it away. "Greater than rain is not a gift," she said. "It's a memory given back." Chapter 5, A Song for the Rain. That night, they sang a new lullaby, "Greater than we forgot, and the sky forgot us. We wept, and the earth remembered. Now, let every drop that falls be a name no one dares forget." The river spirits sent word through the streams, "Rain has returned to the land of the living." And as the sky closed its heavy eyelids to rest, the rain whispered to Kaya, "Greater than you have taught the sky to weep. Soon, you must teach it to sing." Here begins a tale folded in stillness and sealed in Kalaklasera, a tale where footsteps do not echo and shadows never stretch. The winds of Agata, when rivers speak in Tungos. Part 26, The Island Where Time Refused to Move. Chapter 1, The Frozen Drumbiathi. Followed a whisper carried on a crocodile's back, deep into the inland archipelagos, where mist crawled like curious fingers across the water. Their destination was a forbidden isle known only in riddles, greater than where the moon never wanes, where the fire never cools, there sleeps the hour that chose not to pass. They arrived at Otimpe, the island where time had stopped. Birds hung motionless mid-flight. Flames flickered but did not consume. A man casting a fishing net stood still as a sculpture, his mouth open in a word that never came. Time had frozen but the people had not died. They were trapped in a moment too long to be called life, too short to be called death. Chapter 2, The god Who broke his watch. At the center of the island stood a giant palm tree with bronze leaves. Its trunk was carved with thousands of lines, not words, but seconds. There, a child waited. He had not aged. His name was Anuaru, and he was once the timekeeper of the ninth drum, a child god given the burden of motion. Greater than I wept, he said. Every second I moved forward, I left someone behind. So he shattered the drum of hours, silencing the beat that moved the world. And the island froze in sympathy. But Anuaru had grown weary. His grief had calcified. His loneliness had become unbearable. He begged Kaya and the others, greater than, teach me how to let go. Teach me how to move forward without losing everyone. Chapter 3. The moment that he ought to restart the flow of time, Kaya would need to play a new rhythm, a heartbeat not bound by regret. Yukam offered the breath of the ash flute. Nkemchika brought the thread of remembered goodbyes, gifted by Asanma the shadow seamstress. Dunmaji knelt and poured a cup of rainfall from Obalumo, water that once refused to fall. And Kaya placed her hand on Anuaru's chest and said, greater than time is not your enemy. It is your witness. Then she struck the earth with the heel of her foot. Once. Twice. On the third beat, the ground beneath the palm tree shivered. Birds flapped. Flames flared. The fisherman's net splashed. Time, cautious but curious, resumed its breath. Chapter 4. The farewell of the hour boy Anuaru, aged in seconds. From a boy to a man to an elder. Tears streamed down his face, not from fear, but from relief. Greater than I have lived, he whispered. At last, I have truly lived. He placed his drumsticks, one carved from bone, the other from the branch of the tree, into Kaya's hands. Greater than you will need them, he said. To wake the world that still pretends to sleep. And then, with the sigh of the clock striking midnight, Anuaru vanished into mist, not as a god, but as a grateful moment. Chapter 5. A rhythm rested island breathed. Children laughed again. Cooks returned to their stew. And in the skies above, the sun took one long step westward, smiling as if waking from a long nap. They renamed the island Uchin to the will to continue. That night, Kaya played the drum of time once, and the sound traveled not through air, but through every moment, past and future, light and shadow. Greater than let this beat be memory, she said. Let this rhythm be mercy. The journey continued. But time was now a companion, not a chain.
Here begins a tale draped in veils and weighed by names, where souls haggle over echoes, and every prize is a piece of memory. The winds of Agata, when rivers speak in Tungus. Part 27, the market where spirits barter. Chapter 1, the silent traders. Their journey brought them to Okarikagwa, the forest that never bore fruit, but sang constantly with whispers. At its heart stood the Azaho market, a spirit bazaar that bloomed only once every 50 years, where spirits, forgotten gods, ancestors, and cursed echoes came to trade the most valuable thing in all of existence, names. No coin was accepted. No gold weighed. Only true names, the kind that held power, pain, or purpose. Kaya and her companions entered the market not with weapons, but with their names hidden behind veils of silence. Because here, to speak your name aloud was to invite a bid, and once bartered, a name could never be reclaimed. Chapter 2, the child of too many names. Among the stalls run by owl-headed clerics and flame-skinned merchants, they met a small girl who called herself Many. She had no real name anymore, she had sold it to protect her dying mother. Now she wandered the market, borrowing names like coats, each one heavy with someone else's grief. Greater than, will you help me find the name I gave away? She asked Kaya. I forgot what it sounded like. Her story stirred something in Kaya. A memory of the first time someone whispered her true name in the dark, back when her village still burned and the river still judged. So she made a vow, greater than, we will find your name. And we will not trade our own to do it. But that would mean challenging Okwama the ledger keeper, the market's master, a spirit with ears like parchment and eyes made of old contracts. Chapter 3, The Game of Unnames. To retrieve the girl's name, Kaya had to beat Okwama at the Game of Unnames, a ritual battle of riddles in memory where each answer stolen was a truth surrendered. She wagered a powerful artifact, the drumstick of the time god, and in return, Okwama placed a single sealed name on the scale, wrapped in wax and smoke. The rules were cruel: 3 questions asked, 3 answers given. But for every mistake, a memory would be erased. The questions came: 1. What is the name of the night before your first fear? 2. What name did your mother swallow and never tell you? 3. What name will be written on the last drum when you are dust? Kaya answered with tears in her voice: 1. Adelu, the shadow before shadow. 2. Nwasoma, the child she lost before me. 3. I will name myself when I finish remembering. And the wax broke. Inside, the name Azuna. The little girl wept as her soul shuddered back into wholeness. Chapter 4, The Names That Follow. As they left the market, spirits tried to whisper names into Kaya's ears, names of those she had loved and failed, names she had long buried. Each one was a temptation. But she pressed her hand to her chest and whispered, "Greater than I carry names, but I do not wear them all." Azuna, the girl who once had no name, walked beside her, holding tightly to her new old self. Yukam bartered a word with a wind spirit and learned the secret name of his unborn daughter. Nkemjika found her grandmother's forgotten name etched into a piece of obsidian and took it home like a lantern. Chapter 5, A Name That Cannot Be Sold. As they exited the Azaho market, Okwama bowed deeply. "Greater than you carry many names now, Kaya of the River Muth. One day, they will be too heavy. And still, you will walk." Kaya smiled. "Greater than, let it be my true name, she who still walks." Behind her, the market folded into mist, gone for another 50 years. But the stories whispered there would travel with them, etched in the soles of their feet. Because sometimes, a name is not a word. It is a path.
Here begins a tale wrapped in dusk, where echoes forget their origins and reflections wander alone. Winds of Agata, when rivers speak in Tungos. Part 28, The Shadow That Forgot Its Body. Chapter 1, The Lake That Hid the Sky. Beyond the market of names, the travelers crossed into a land where no birds flew and no stars reflected. There lay Lake Nzirimara, still as oil, black as silence. It was said to be the only lake in the world that had no surface, only depth. When Kaya leaned to drink, her reflection did not follow. Nor did Yukam's. Nor Nkemjika's. Nor Azuna's. They looked into the water and saw nothing. Because something had stolen their shadows. Chapter 2, The Eater of Auglainas. At the edge of the lake, they encountered her being known only as Idukama, or the one who casts no shadow. She had once been human, a weaver whose jealousy of the sun's radiance led her to twist her own shadow into a weapon. But the shadow had grown hungry and turned on her, leaving her as only shape and voice. Now she ruled this realm of cast off echoes, commanding shadows who no longer remembered the bodies that birthed them. And among them, one wept softly. It was Kaya's own shadow, lost and afraid. It whispered, "Greater than, I tried to follow you, but you outgrew me." To reclaim it, Kaya would have to pass through the valley of half-truths, where shadows are judged not for what their bearers did, but for what they almost did. Chapter 3, The Choices Not Taken. In that valley, Kaya faced living memories, moments she could have chosen but didn't. The day she nearly joined the raiders who burned her village. The moment she nearly left Yukam to die when the Agrays attacked. The temptation to trade Azuna's life for the whispering drum. Each one was real here, fully formed. And her shadow, broken from her, screamed, "Greater than, if I carry your sins, why do you never listen to me?" Kaya wept. Not out of guilt, but understanding. She whispered, "Greater than, because I feared you'd make me stop walking." She reached out, not to reclaim her shadow, but to embrace it. And the moment she did, Her shadow stepped back into her, and her silhouette returned, more whole than before. Chapter 4. The other who waited, but not all were ready to reconcile. Yukum's shadow had become a lion, proud and wild, angry at the quiet man who now doubted himself. It refused to return unless Yukum reclaimed his forgotten roar. So Yukum did the unthinkable. He stood atop the lake, tore open his chest, and roared a single truth that echoed through the hills. Greater than I am not afraid to be great. The shadow smiled and stepped back into him. Chapter 5. When Silhouette Stens and Kamchika's shadow was not angry, it was tired. She had long ignored it, always facing forward, never glancing back. She did not speak to it. She simply danced. The same dance her mother taught her. The one she forgot during years of fleeing and foraging. Her shadow joined, and the two danced until no one could tell which one led. Chapter 6. The lake remembers. As they left the lake's edge, the still water shimmered. The sky returned. Their reflections came back, but now, each one was slightly different. Not because they were wrong, but because they had changed. And in the darkness behind them, Idukama whispered, greater than when next you forget yourself, come back. Not all forgetting is loss. Some forgetting is mercy. And the lake, for the first time in many centuries, rippled.
Here begins a tale carved in coral and echo where bones remember, the sea listens, and silence is a song too heavy to carry alone. The winds of Agata, when rivers speak in tongue. Part 25, the bones that sang beneath the sea. Chapter 1, the whispering current journey took them south to the village of Kporonda, where the sea didn't roar, it hummed. Even at noon, the tide sounded like a lullaby. But no one swam. No one fished. No one dared wade past the mangroves. For beneath the waves lay the Valley of Bones, a reef where drowned ancestors were set asleep, dreaming songs that could drive a living heart to madness. The villagers called it Aduashi, the mouth of forgotten songs. And it had begun to sing again. A fisherman went mad. A girl walked into the tide smiling and never returned. And the elders begged Kaya, greater than go beneath the sea. Ask the bones what they want. Chapter 2, the mask of Salto survived the descent. Kaya was given an ancient mask woven from dried seaweed, coral, and a fish's first scale, a relic called Ezumezu, meaning half of truth. Wearing it allowed her to breathe beneath water, but only while she remembered who she truly was. With Yukum and Kamchika, she entered the shallows and passed through the underwater gate made of whale ribs. There, the water turned thick as smoke, and the silence roared louder than a crowd. Bones littered the ocean floor, arranged not by decay, but by intention. Like a choir, waiting to sing. Then a voice spoke not aloud, but into their minds, greater than why did you leave us quiet for so long? Chapter 3, the song of Ronglanest bones belonged to slaves. Taken generations ago by sea raiders. Drowned to silence their screams. But their spirits had not crossed over, they had clung to memory, building a cathedral beneath the waves. Greater than we do not ask for vengeance, said the lead spirit, a mother who clutched a coral-wrapped femur like a child. We ask to be remembered out loud. To do so, Kaya had to carry their song back to the surface. But the song was too heavy for one soul. So she offered her voice, and each companion offered a memory. In that moment, the bones glowed not from magic, but from joy. Chapter 4, the lament above the tide returning to Kporonda, Kaya and her companions sang the song of the drowned on the shoreline. Their voices broke. Their tears salted the sand. And as they sang, the tide rose not in anger, but in procession. The sea gave back its dead. Not as bodies, but as ghost lanterns, soft, glowing forms shaped like dancers in mid-step. They bowed. They wept. And then, they vanished into the foam, at peace. The waters hummed still to silence. And the reef was renamed, Ioma, the journey well taken. Chapter 5, when the sea smellest villagers swam again. Children played in the shallows. Fishermen sank to the tide not to beg, but to greet. And every year, on the moon's lowest tide, they gather to sing the song again, greater than you are not forgotten. You are not the silence. You are the beat between the waves. Kaya stood at the edge, the mask as a mazu in hand. She whispered, "Truth has no tongue until it is sung." The sea, for the first time in memory, smiled a long, low wave that shimmered like joy.